Why We Can't Wait by Joshua Truitt. Despite it being almost a century since the 13th Amendment was passed, which abolished slavery, the African American members of society had not yet witnessed complete assimilation. Still, people were without lucrative work, there was still racism, and most of all, segregation was still present, especially in schools. Here we see King recovering from a stabbing at one of his book signings. The doctor said that if the letter opener would have gone any further, it would have punctured his aorta and he would have died. In his book, Why We Can't Wait, he compares his own life experience with the Negro Revolt in the following quote. In the summer of 1963, the knife of violence was just that close to the nation's aorta. In 1963, the African Americans of Birmingham, Alabama, launched many non-violent civil rights protests, and countless people were arrested. Eventually, the jails were full. This was a strategy. The people figured out that if they could fill the jails, the police would have no chance to confine them. Being in jail quickly turned into a representation of courage instead of being shameful. So even though the jails were full, the police continued to punish the African Americans by spraying them with high-power water hoses. Another civil rights movement that occurred around 1963 was the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights, or the ACMHR. This was an organization headed by Pastor Fred Lee Shuttlesworth. They met at the Sardis Baptist Church, and their purpose was to integrate Birmingham. The organization and King did this through events such as the Freedom Rides, sit-ins at Miles College, boycotts, and the expansion of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference into Birmingham. During a period of sit-ins and boycotts, Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested, and he was put in solitary confinement. In addition, his house was bombed and he was abused. However, the fact that he would do this for the civil rights cause made people realize what a great leader he was. While in jail, he wrote a famous letter addressed to various members of the clergy that had criticized him. In it, he uses moral and logical appeal in order to prove his point that segregation is bad and to outline the nonviolent protest. After Martin Luther King Jr. was released from jail, pictures of the police mistreating the African Americans surfaced. Consequently, people from all over came to Birmingham in order to help the Negroes. Eventually, Bull Connor got removed from office, and things started to look up for the African Americans. Martin Luther sums up his beliefs during his I Have a Dream speech when he said, "And when this happens, and when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last."